Welcome back to another great edition of It's a Woman's World. And I am your host, Jamela Pettiford. I am excited to have the beautiful young lady that we have here today who considers herself an ambassador in the global community of transformation and is passionate about social justice, homelessness, veterans, and prison reform. When I think of her, I think of the powerful quote by Laurel Thatcher: well
Oh,
behaved women
excuse me.
seldom make history. And so I am excited to have you with us. Let me introduce my beautiful co host, Barbara Lavalore. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
And Candy Pettiford.
It's great to be here. I'm excited.
Yes. And Susan Strauss. Welcome.
Hello, it's good to be back and feeling halfway normal again. And I'm anxious to hear what Tracy has to teach us.
Yes. And of course, we have our guest, Tracy A. Hunt. Tracy, thank you for being with us today.
Thank you, ladies. It's a pleasure.
Yes. And when I was reading all of your information, I really was inspired you just come off as a woman who is not very well behaved, and yet you are a trailblazer in your own right, and that you really set the tone for where you're going in this life. And I read your mission. It was almost like your personal mission statement to be an ambassador. I would really like to start off with, how did you come to a heart of being an ambassador for others, really standing up for the rights of other people and making that your life's mission? Talk a little bit about that.
Wow. Thank you, Jamila. Thank you for mentioning Ambassador. I saw a documentary back in, gosh, I don't remember, 20 plus years ago, called Ambassador Under Fire. And it was about, there was a woman ambassador in there, Prudence Bushnell, who was the ambassador to Kenya. And she was at the US Embassy during the Kenya bombings. And I'll never forget, she came outside in the rubble with an American flag, said, "We will rebuild." And something about that said to me, I am going to be a US ambassador.
Oh,
So I started the process to be in the Foreign Service, and ultimately chose not to follow that path. But I really got what being an ambassador is.
Beautiful and
Tracy,
touching.
Tracy, I think it would be interesting for our viewers to have a little bit about your background, like um, your educational background, maybe any jobs that kind of had something to do with where you are today.
Sure. Well, I grew up in Los Angeles. I've been here my whole life. I love it. And I got my MBA in organizational development and international business. So I've traveled the world. I've worked in law pretty much exclusively my entire career, managing law firms. Um, and I've always had an interest in criminal law. And I've been involved with LAPD. I've done taken some community policing classes. I spent several months. And in 2018, I saw a documentary called Skid Row Marathon that changed my life. It's about Skid Row Running Club here in Los Angeles. Now, if you had told me that I would be going to Skid Row every week, I would have said, "What are you?" I'd never been to Skid Row in my life. I grew up on the West Side. No reason to go to that area, which is very destitute, full of drug addicts, homeless people. It's tent city. But I joined the running club, and it has been the most integral part of my life. I started to run, and there are people in the club that are addicted, are coming, recovering from drugs and alcohol, homeless, have been incarcerated. In fact, yesterday, a big group of us volunteered in Altadena for fire relief. And it was really devastating to see. And when I arrived at the location and saw my fellow club members and just hugged them, I was like, okay, we can do this.
Mhm. You know, I'm seeing, which I love to see, Tracy, is the compassion. I'm seeing that. And I'm seeing some of the tears and whatever. What's happening behind that? Where are we getting this?
Wow. Thank you for asking that, Candy. I I have a promise for the world. It's by 2030, all people will be honored and recognized as family.
Beautiful.
So when I see my family in pain, I want to help.
Wow. Wow. And how do you do that? What is it that say, I want to help? What is
Um,
one or two things?
Well, like I said, the volunteering for fire relief. My main vehicle, as you can see from my background, Prisons to Partnerships, is a nonprofit that was formed with a group of people that I'm involved with through Landmark Worldwide. We created this nonprofit last year and had our first Education and Action Conference last November. We had 175 people attend. And I first went to a prison in July 2019 with my running club, San Quentin, and that day changed my life. I got to be with incarcerated men in like I had never been with, in the presence of an incarcerated person. And just being able to be and to have lunch and to visit their cells and just touched me very deeply. And so I continued. I
Beautiful.
found I found it, what I wanted to do.
Ah, beautiful.
Tracy, whoops. Sorry, Candy. I thought you were done. Go ahead.
I was just saying thank you for that. That was wonderful.
Tracy, could you talk a little bit about what exactly is this partnership? And obviously, you are spearheading it from LA anyway. And how many other people belong to the partnership, and what is it that you do?
Thank you, Susan. Well, Prisons to Partnerships started out kind of as our founder president, Neil Abramson, also has a promise for the world around people being taken care of. And he was incarcerated when he was 17, and it changed his life. And he's now probably in his late 60s. And he is committed to helping people who've been incarcerated. So he formed a group of us. There are maybe 15 of us. We're on a call every Monday night. And once a week, we have a guest call where we invite someone who's been incarcerated to be our speaker. We invite all kinds of people, families, people that needs support. And what we do is connect each other. We'll have like this next Monday, I have someone who was sentenced to 102 years to life. He now works for the Department of Justice. And what a great speaker, to go from that to being released and now working for the DOJ. And, this is the kind of person that says, look, this is where I was. This is who I am now. And I'm committed to helping you get there too.
So, tell me how you're working with the prisoners themselves. I think that's what I'm looking for. What's the nexus there that
Well,
the partnership, how is it just prisoners that have already that they've been released and they're out in society, or are you working with prisoners that are still incarcerated, and to what degree?
Thank you, Susan. So we, the group of us are all over the United States. In fact, Neil is in Dallas. He was in a prison yesterday volunteering. And there's a bunch of us in California. So I also volunteer with the Compassion Prison Project, which has a commitment to get its work inside of every prison in California. So I visited probably 8 prisons with them, and we go in and do trauma healing,
Mm.
which is extraordinary. I have found that the reason most people are in prison is because of trauma. They've grown up with a traumatic childhood, and this is what led them to prison.
And they're open to having you all come in and work with them.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm really impressed. And I'm impressed by your passion. I'm impressed by your compassion. But then when I look at, all of the great certifications that you have, it says that you are a certified coach practitioner, a certified personal trainer, a certified nutritionist. It really helps me to understand that you are serving in a holistic way. You are serving from a place of healing. And it looks as though you did the work within yourself first before applying this healing to others. Would you talk a little bit about how you came to the place of being a holistic healer, really understanding what the human needs in order to really repair through that you've received, and how you apply those to the work that you do in your compassion and passion every day?
Thank you for asking me that, Jamila. In 1995, I did a program called the Landmark Forum, and I've continued to participate with Landmark ever since. It'll be 30 years this year. I can't even believe it. So the Landmark Forum is a 3-day program, and in that weekend, I transformed my life. I got what I'm here for on this planet.
Mm.
What about that told you what you're here for in the planet? What was the catalyst?
I would say the catalyst is well, a couple of things. I got what integrity means in life.
Mm.
Showing up, being my word, saying I'm going to do something and do it.
Yeah.
Or thinking like, ooh, like that's not right. And also getting complete with the past. The forum is all about getting complete with the past. Not that I had a terrible past. Believe me, I had a great childhood, a great life. And there were things that I made up from a kid, when I was a kid, like, oh, people don't really care about me or whatever it was, the little voice in my head. No, I have power over all of it. I'm the one that has the say in my life. And what can I do?
So Tracy, I see a lot of programs on TV. I've read books and I read in the newspapers about people who have been incarcerated who did not do what they're incarcerated for. They're actually innocent. I'm wondering to what degree you experience meeting prisoners who also say to you, I didn't do that. I did not do what I'm here for. I'm just curious about that.
Yeah, that is so great, Barbara, because the founder of the Compassion Prison Project, which is how I go into prison generally, is also a graduate of Landmark. And what she will say to the incarcerated people is, you're here. There is a reason you are here. Maybe you didn't do whatever it is, which is so powerful to get like, yeah, instead of being a victim, why did this happen to me? Like, I'm here. What can I do with this? And I mean, that is just, and the people really get it. They're like, oh, okay.
Okay, I've got to get a little deeper here. Do you see more African American people? And why do you think that? You're nodding here, and
Well, I was starting to say, I was kind of looking at like, I actually, Candy, not necessarily.
okay.
Well, and I would say that these programs are not just anybody goes. I mean, you have to be at a certain level. There's different levels of prison. Like like 2, 1 or 2, you're safe. 3, 4, you're like, we're not talking about the Supermax in Colorado. We haven't been there yet. These are guys that have been, and I'll say women as well, have been working on themselves. They have found, oh, you know what? I don't want to keep committing crime. I don't want to be doing this stuff in prison. So that's one thing. So that may have a difference on the population. I have met African American men who, in fact, our speaker last month, George Smith, had been this huge gangbanger. I mean, and he continued in prison. There's actually an episode of Ear Hustle, the most recent episode, which comes out of San Quentin. And George is the speaker, and he talks about his history in prison until he saw the light. So that mentality continues. And if you're in that mentality, you are not going to go to a self-help program to transform yourself, right?
What differences, if any, and I'm sure there are some, do you see between women that are incarcerated and men that are incarcerated? Are they, what differences do you see?
Well, honestly, I've only been to one women's prison. I really connect with the men. And, maybe that's what it is. Because men are taught not to show emotion. When I see these men, release, it is so incredible. And I didn't have that experience when I went to a women's prison, as much. So that may be a difference. I mean, we are already emoting, we're those kind of creatures that just, are feeling. And so that's a different experience. That's what I would say the difference for me is.
Mhm.
What age groups do you see?
All kinds, from somebody who, hey, 20 years old to 80 years old.
One of the things I think about, Tracy, is when I was a little girl, there were women who I admired. There were women that I wanted to be like. Can you tell me, when you were a child and you were developing and deciding all of the great paths that you were going to take, who was the woman that you looked at and said, I like her. I would love to be like her if I could be mentored by her. Tell me a little bit about her, and what inspired you to have such a big heart.
My mom.
Oh,
Yeah.
tell us a little bit about your mom.
My mom, her name is Joyce, but she goes by Joe. That's what all her friends call her. She's 99. Actually, February 12th, which is coming up. She'll be 99. And she is the most incredible woman. She was an interior designer, and she taught me all about beauty and how to make a home beautiful, how to make things beautiful. She would garden and cook, and she knew how to talk to people and get things done. I mean, it blows my mind today. At 99, she'll still get on the phone and say, "Hi, I need XYZ." And I mean, she has so many people in her life, like her gardener or her, cleaning lady or whomever, that just like she'll tell me Christmas Day, I got 47 texts today from all these people that, people love her. That, that's my foundation for my life.
Beautiful.
Beautiful. And
I'm
what
wondering how your world travel has impacted the Prisons to Partnership, because to me, traveling is such a way to be educated. You learn different, especially when you go to different countries and learn different ways of, functioning. How has that impacted your work?
So I've traveled a lot since I was young, and with my running club, one of the things we do every year is go to a different country to run an international marathon. So with them, I've been to Ecuador, Egypt, India. I think those are the three places. And we take with us people that are homeless. We operate out of the Midnight Mission down in Skid Row, which is people who have been released from prison end up there, people who are homeless, addicted, that don't have a place to live. That's where they go. So people will join the running club because they hear, ooh, you can go to, you can get new running shoes, you can go on a trip. Now, obviously we screen people, but the people that can continue to participate, they get to go on these trips. People that would never, ever, ever, we get them a passport. They're on a plane. They're going to, some have never been on a plane before. And to see a different country through somebody's eyes like that is incredible.
Who
How does
funds their ability to go?
We're the Skid Row Running Club is a nonprofit, and people make donations. I mentioned the movie Skid Row Marathon. So a lot of times people will watch that movie. That's what happened with me. I watched the movie, I'm going to join this running club, or they donate.
Well, how does a person like myself or someone out there, how do you get involved with what you're doing? How can we help you?
Oh, thank you. Well, Prisons to Partnerships has its own website, prisonstopartnerships.com. Skid Row Running Club has a website. And I would say, really, what is it that calls to you in your life that you think, oh, I'd like to do? Like yesterday, I went and volunteered for fire relief. I happen to have the time. So what is it that you think, gosh, I'd like to do X?
Hmm.
Maybe there's a but, well, look at the but. Is the but really there? Just do it.
Hmm. Hmm. Beautiful.
Powerful. That's powerful. When you see young women who are unsure of themselves and carry a lot of insecurities, how do you, Tracy, speak to that when they see that you're so strong and you're so focused and so passionate? How do you encourage young women who might want to step out but are afraid of prisoners, are afraid of the homeless, have some fears when it comes to meeting people that live life off the cuff? How do you encourage them to be strong and brave like you?
Thank you, Jamila. And I would say it's not just young women,
Mm,
right?
hmm.
I
True.
mean,
It's all.
all women. Um, well, listening is very powerful. You know, creating a safe space for somebody to share what's going on with them.
Mm,
That's where it starts, and not making anyone wrong.
Hmm.
There's nothing wrong. People have pasts, and a lot of time there's shame. You know, somebody could have had something in their past they don't want to talk about, or they think this is who I am, or this is why my life. It's not who you are. That happened. That's not happening now. Hopefully it's not happening now. If it is, let's get you some help. Um, but that's where it starts.
What do you hope for your organization going forward into the future? What is your mission, first of all? And then what are some specific goals that you see going forward, maybe a year or 5 years?
Great. Thank you, Susan. Well, when you said hope, I don't hope, because hope is kind of like I hope it's going to happen. No, we have a commitment. So we're going to do another conference this year. We are expanding nationwide. As I said, we've got a lot of people who are around the country, but we don't have all the states covered. We want to be, in every state, and then international. 5 years, I would say we are sought after, recognized, and in demand as an organization that really is committed to both people incarcerated and their people that love them, people, returning citizens. Let's get returning citizens the ability to have jobs like immediately, not like you don't, we got that thing off the job application that said, do you have a felony? Great. But still there's background checks. I had a friend who just, got a job, was working on the job several weeks, and then they did a background after the fact, did a background check and said, you know what? You can't work here.
Oh,
We've only got a minute left, so I want to ask you, what's the one question you'd like to answer that we haven't asked you?
that I would like to answer. Wow. I'm not sure. I want to say I really appreciate this opportunity to be with all of you and to share. And that's where it starts, is sharing from your heart what it is that gives you life, you know, what makes you wake up every day and get out of bed.
That's
Great.
purpose.
Thanks.
That's purpose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tracy, you
And
said you're
you,
hoping to get into every state. Since we're all from Minnesota, are you in Minnesota?
I believe we do. I believe we are. Mhm.
okay. Okay. Well, you know, I am so grateful, Tracy, and I'm grateful for all of the co-hosts. You know, when we meet inspiring women like you, it sets us ablaze and reminds us there's so much that we can do. And I want to thank you for being on It's a Woman's World because you have truly inspired me. And I know that if I am inspired, we are all inspired. May we all be as passionate and compassionate as you. And just like the quote by Laurel Thatcher, well behaved women seldomly change history and make history. And you, in your own beautiful, intricate way, are changing the tapestry of people's lives every day by just being Tracy A. Hunt. And we want to congratulate you on all the wonderful ways that you do what you do. And for all of you out there in TV land that have been inspired by Tracy, just as she said, find something in your heart that inspires you and just do it. And so we thank you for being with us today on It's a Woman's World. Again, I am your host, Jamila Pettiford, and we know that you are inspired. So keep watch because we bring the greatest, the excellence, and the best to you every episode. And thank you for being on It's a Woman's World.
When I hear someone say the word hope, I think there's no action around hoping for anything. If I hope I'm going to get some money, it may happen, it may not. But if I say, I got to get some money and I'm committed, there's an action plan.